Hello and welcome. My name is Jill. You are here at the Road Report. Today we're answering the question, what is the P50 life? So welcome back to the Road Report. I'm going to be shifting things up a little bit. So for those of you who've been following along, it's been kind of a hodgepodge of me trying to figure out what's the vlog, what's this one, what are some other videos. And so I've come up with some pretty distinctive categories I want everything to fit in. I think I'm getting clear. Time will tell. But this overall theme of what the P50 life is really, I came up with that when I started writing my last book, How to Get Ready for Your Post-50 Life. And what I have really come to understand is there's sort of this midpoint in our life where we have to start looking at things differently. I think I had to be 54 before I realized I was 50. I have not come into the second half or third act easily. And at the same time, the more I think about it, the more I think that there's just a really different way to think about things. And so that's really going to be the focus from here on moving forward, is some very specific categories I want to address instead of, the hodgepodge I've sort of been flailing around at. And really understanding this tribe I left home to find. It doesn't exist in its concrete form, and the bigger issue that I've come to terms with is I'm probably not going to find it. So I really am focusing on a lot of ideas. I'm not holding my breath about coming into fruition, but as a reflection of things I've learned along the way and how we can address some of the issues that will be coming up in our future. And one of those great big issues is the aging population. And I spent over 20 years as a social worker. I don't want to talk about the social work kind of stuff. I don't want to talk about what you need when you get old. I am interested in how to create a life in which I don't have to get old, where I can stay independent and healthy, joyful and useful in a way that still has purpose and meaning. And so part of what I've really been studying these last few months is how to integrate all those things, what I want to communicate, what kind of community I want to bring together. And that's really what this P50 life is all about. And it begins with the book. I guess we'll put it on this side. The book, it's called Jill's Guide to Getting Ready for Your Post-50 Life. And that's really the conversation that I have had thousands of times as a social worker after you break your hip and are in the hospital and can't go home. And what has occurred to me as I've watched so many people chase their retirement dreams is the way that people are making their decisions isn't really supportive of who you're going to be when you're older. The second piece to that is if you don't get it done in your 40s, 50s, and 60s, if you wait to change your life and adapt to your older self in your 70s and 80s, it's probably going to be too late. So the best way to stay independent is to plan ahead. And because everybody's so overwhelmed and busy, how do we do that? We give ourselves 5 to 20 years to get it done. Sounds like a good plan. Now, the second piece to that is almost none of us remember, we lose focus, hence the videos. I like that because it keeps you reminded and on track. What I also discovered is that in looking at retirement, all that anybody ever talks about is their finances and their health care, because that's how they make money off of you. I read just recently that we're going to have $500,000 just for our health care premiums in the early 60-year-olds as we retire. Somehow I'd like to say good luck with that. So that moves us into what these road reports are going to be about. And that's really about how do we stay healthy. We stay healthy not by figuring out how to get better health care, but what can we do to become healthy. And the more I've studied longevity and cultures and groups of people who have long-term health, the more I realize it's just simple things that we're supposed to be doing every single day that humanity has eased itself out of. There's the aging crisis that's coming. There's also the human artificial intelligence crisis that's coming. And that's part of our health, is how are we going to maintain our humanness if we stop living like human beings. So a lot of what we're going to be addressing in the road report isn't what to do, because there's so much information about what to do. The thing that I'm most interested in is why we don't do it and how do we get it into the flow of our everyday life. We only have 24 hours a day. And, you know, thousands of years ago, our lifestyle integrated all these basic things, you know, in terms of being healthy. So that's really going to be most of the focus on the road report. The third thing that I'll be moving forward with is talking more specifically about what I call a nomad life or nomad culture. And one of the things I've learned in my living in a tiny space in a tiny trailer is that nomads and nomad culture is different. There's not just one version. And so while I thought I was moving into a specific type, what I've learned is I don't really belong to that type. I'm interested in something else, and there's multiple versions of nomad culture. And so those videos, Jill's Nomad Survival, we're going to be talking more about the specifics, things I've learned along the way, how to define for yourself if this is a lifestyle for you. And a real fundamental belief that I have is that if we want to see rural America survive, if we want small town America to survive, there needs to be a marriage between the nomad culture and small towns, because having spent, you know, a lot of time in small towns over the last few years, there's no way that they can survive on their own. And the only way to bring the business out of the big cities is really to create a mobile working environment where instead of having your one job in one town, your business or your work travels with you to maybe several towns or follows with the season. None of this is new. Humanity has been doing this since the beginning of time, but we've lost that. We've moved into a digital culture where we travel this way, but there also needs to be a physical support system to that. So that's what I'm most interested in, and that's what we'll start seeing more in the ARC project. I initiated the ARC project when I was shocked to understand about the actual statistics of the baby boomer aging population and all those who follow behind it. I keep calling it the aging apocalypse because it's kind of an oh my God kind of moment. There's no simple solution for that. And so I'm interested in visiting small towns and working as looking at what the possibilities can be. So that's a little bit down the road, but that's really what we're going to address in that. And then the last piece, which is where my heart is in the vlog, which I love, which nobody else gets. So the vlog, Survival Road, it's a vlog about going wild. What I've learned through this whole process of YouTube is that what's valuable and important to me isn't so much to other people. And so that's going to really be the inner journey, this third and fourth act that I call becoming the master, the sage, and the elder, about what the real journey of moving into the second half of life is about. And that's also where I can get my creative needs met. So that will be coming too a little bit down the road. But I wanted to describe all of these pieces because that's really what the P50 life is. It's getting ready in your physical environment. It's deciding if you want to be healthy and how you're going to build that into your life. And it's figuring out how you want to live. We're moving into a time where more people are divorced, more people don't have children, more people are widowed, and systems that can't support caring for us individually. And often in rural communities, the only choice is to stay home or go to a nursing home. And so, you know, when I wrote the book, I wrote it for everybody, whether you're in the city, the suburbs, you're a nomad, or you want to live in small town or rural America. Everything is the same for all of us as we get older. There's certain changes that take place. There's certain ways of looking at things that just shift. So that book is for everybody. But the decisions you make will be specific to you, because one of the things that happens as we get older is we have to make a decision if we want to be active, if we want to take the lead in our own life, because it all goes away in a heartbeat. You know, one fall, one bad choice with a house, one little tiny decision can completely destroy your future. So the more information you have, the more proactive you are, the more you're consciously leading your life. That's one of the number one things for people as they get older, is to want to still have control over their life. The second one I like to say is, do you want to stay out of the nursing home? Most people do. Those are really, for many of us, the only choices that we have. So who we get to be, who we decide to be, is really our responsibility. And so the last piece of this is, I've really morphed this journey from freedom to wild. And I've learned that wild is my thing. What's the bigger question is this idea of freedom and responsibility. It's the question I've struggled with. It's the question as a social worker I stomped around all day long and just said, well, if people would take responsibility for themselves, it'd be a whole different world. The world, it's very difficult to be responsible for yourself. So that's really the other huge piece to all of this. And it's the one thing most of us don't want to talk about or think about. What are we responsible for ourselves? And, are we responsible for our food? Are we responsible for our health? Are we responsible for our future? Are we responsible for our world? And those are the questions that are going to sort of override everything, because if we don't want to take responsibility, it really came to me is you can't rage against those who are controlling you if you expect those same people to take care of you. That's one of those things we just don't want to know about. And that's the kind of thing I think about all the time. Those are the questions that we're really going to be looking at. How can we individually and as a community come together to really become who we want to be as we get older? I think it can be crisis or opportunity. I think the crisis helps motivate us to get to the opportunity, but it's not enough. It has to be a decision. And I'm going to tell you something right now. People don't make decisions based on facts or statistics. They make decisions emotionally. So whatever it takes to get your emotions fueled up and fired up, to make you want to take control of your life, to make you want to be responsible for as much of your life as you can, that's what we need to find. So with that is a little summation of what the P50 life is all about, what I'll be working on for the foreseeable future, and the journey that I hope that you will take with me through this process, because this is it. No one's coming to rescue us, and we, people who are older, are running out of time. It's now or it's never. I don't want to go to the nursing home. How about you? So with that, we'll see you next time. But keep it close or you'll lose yourself.